When an audacious liberal TV host sets out to expose the Trump family's most guarded secrets, he believes he's armed with the perfect arsenal of controversial questions, juicy rumors, and razor-sharp wit. What he doesn't expect is that Barron Trump has a mind of his own, and his readiness to defend his family is about to flip the script. A faint hush falls over the bustling Manhattan studio as the warm-up comedian signals the audience to settle. Bright lights glare down on a sleek, modern set adorned with oversized screens. The host, whose smug grin is practically trademarked, lounges in his chair with a note card deck that might as well be labeled ammunition. The show is known for its biting critiques of conservative figures, but tonight he's determined to go beyond mere commentary. Tonight, he wants to draw blood. He's convinced that the Trump family's facade will crumble if pressed hard enough, that somewhere beneath the golden surface the cracks are wide open. Producers scurry around, earpieces buzzing with last-minute changes. The host glances into the camera with a conspiratorial wink, promising a bombshell interview. In the front row, a cadre of liberal-leaning audience members sits ready to cheer at his every jab. But interspersed among them are a few supporters of the Trumps, eyes keen and arms crossed, suspicious of the setup. It's a volatile mix, the kind of crowd that can turn on a dime. In the backstage corridor, Melania stands quietly with Barron at her side. Dressed in a conservative yet chic navy blue dress, she keeps her arm gently around her son's shoulders. Barron, taller than many expect, scans the environment with a calm expression that belies his age. Despite the tension in the air, he isn't cowering. Donald Trump, further down the hallway, speaks in hushed tones to an aide while adjusting his suit jacket, that familiar confident stance unwavering. A production assistant ushers them to the stage entrance and the countdown begins. The opening sequence blares across the giant screens, bright colors, dramatic voiceovers, and sensational headlines. Exclusive, the Trumps under fire. The host's polished persona flashes on screen, promising revelations that he teases will change everything we thought we knew about this influential family. The crowd claps enthusiastically, some with anticipation, others with skepticism. And then, with practiced flair, the host announces, "Tonight, I have the pleasure of interviewing the Trump family." Yes, you heard that right, folks. The entire Trump family is here, and we're going to dive deep. Melania steps out first, offering a polite smile, followed by Donald, whose presence alone generates a mixture of boos and cheers. Then Barron emerges, slightly behind his parents, his expression guarded but not timid. The host gestures them to a trio of chairs arranged in a semicircle opposite him, a stage design reminiscent of a courtroom rather than a standard talk show. Before they can even get comfortable, the host leans forward, eyes gleaming like a predator spotting its prey. "Mrs. Trump," he begins smoothly, "we've all heard about your modeling past, your accent, your Be Best initiative, and of course your marriage to one of the most polarizing figures in modern history. But let's cut to the chase. What do you say to people who claim you're little more than a polished ornament attached to your husband's side?" The question is loaded, delivered with a saccharine smile that can't conceal its bite. Melania's expression doesn't flinch. In a measured tone, she responds, "I stand by my husband because I believe in him and in the values we share. I am also my own person, with my own goals. Perhaps the real question is why certain people are so eager to dismiss a woman's accomplishments because she supports her spouse." A smattering of applause rises, some from Trump supporters, others may be intrigued by her forthrightness. The host's lips twitch, not expecting such a confident retort right away. He shifts focus to Donald with a theatrical flourish. "Mr. Trump, rumors abound about your finances, your past dealings, even your moral compass. People say your empire is built on a house of cards, and that if you peeled away the gold, there'd be nothing but rot. Would you care to respond?" The air crackles with tension. The audience leans forward, half expecting one of Trump's signature broadside attacks. Donald exhales, then offers the host a practiced smile, part showmanship, part defiance. "I'd say many people have been trying to knock down my house of cards for decades, and yet, here we are. Maybe, just maybe, we're doing something right. But I'm sure you have your own version of the story all lined up." The host arches an eyebrow, refusing to be outmaneuvered so early. The studio stage lights dim momentarily for a commercial segue, a chance for the audience to absorb the first jabs. Technicians dash about, adjusting microphones and camera angles. Barron watches the flurry of activity without speaking. He knows full well the host is coming for him eventually. And the truth is, while the older members of his family have grown used to controversy, Barron is still often shielded from public interrogations. Tonight, That shield is nowhere in sight. When the lights flare back on, the host leans in once again, note cards at the ready. "Let's talk about your son, shall we?" he says, looking at Donald and Melania. "There's been a lot of speculation about Barron's life, his education, and how he's being raised. Some see him as an extension of your brand, not necessarily a free-thinking individual. Care to comment?" A flicker of protectiveness flashes in Melania's eyes. Donald's jaw sets, but Barron decides to answer for himself. "Actually," he says, his voice steady, "I have my own interests, my own education, my own plans for the future. I'm not a brand extension. It's convenient for people to label me, but that doesn't make it true." A ripple of surprise runs through the audience. Barron's composure draws a smattering of applause. The host smirks as though he's been waiting for that opening. "Barron," he says, turning his attention fully to the teenager, "there have been whispers, rumors that you resent the spotlight. Some claim you're forced into political pageantry. Have you ever considered telling your parents you'd rather step away from all this?" With a polite but firm clarity, Barron responds, "If I wanted to disappear from the spotlight, I'm pretty sure I'd let my parents know directly. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. Though it's interesting that certain talk show hosts prefer to rely on whispers and rumors instead of asking me directly." The audience reacts with a collective "ooh," recognizing the subtle put-down. Donald looks at Barron with a mix of pride and relief. Sensing the crowd's shift, the host presses on, determined to find a crack. "Well, since you're inviting direct questions, let's talk specifics. People want to know if you've been groomed to follow in your father's footsteps, another Trump in politics, or maybe just inheriting the businesses. Is that your destiny, or do you actually have your own ambitions that don't involve golf courses and gold elevators?" Barron maintains his composure. "I'm still in school and I have interests, coding, world history, architecture, that go beyond the family business. I haven't decided on a singular destiny. It's fascinating that so many people want to plan my life for me, though." A smattering of laughter and supportive cheers ripple through the crowd, but the host presses on. "Let's pivot to something spicier," the host says, flipping through his cards. "There have been rumors, some might call them dirty secrets, regarding your family's dynamic. Affair allegations, hidden arguments, staffers who overhear screaming matches. Melania, do you ever feel trapped in a marriage that's more business contract than romantic partnership?" The question slams into the air like a hammer. Gasps flutter through the audience. Melania's expression tightens ever so slightly, but her voice remains steady. "It is fascinating to me how people who don't know us personally pretend to be experts on our marriage. Donald and I have our disagreements, as any couple does. But it's our relationship. We sort it out as a family, away from cameras. No amount of speculation changes that." Donald nods in agreement, but the host isn't done. He continues, "Some claim you're just staying for the perks, the money, the clout. They say if Donald lost all his fortune tomorrow, you'd walk." Melania offers a measured smile. "Those who reduce relationships to finances often reveal their own priorities rather than mine. My life was secure before I met Donald. I chose him for who he is, flaws and all." The audience claps. The host's eyes flick to Barron, eager to see if he'll bite at any bait. "Barron," the host begins, voice dripping with artificial sympathy, "what's it like to see your father constantly in the headlines for controversies, from alleged hush money payments to combative tweets, and your mother painted as some stoic figure behind him?" Barron exhales, glancing momentarily at his parents, then turns back to the host. "I see a lot of incomplete stories," Barron says. "There's truth mixed in with exaggeration, rumor, and sometimes outright lies. It's not easy, but I'm proud of my parents. They've taught me that you stand by your family, even when it's tough." The host's smirk becomes almost predatory. "Stand by them no matter what, huh? Even if those exaggerations turn out to be true?" Donald interjects, "You're fishing, and I get it. Your ratings depend on scandal. But let's be clear, nobody's perfect. I've made mistakes, and so has everyone in this room. But people who claim to know dirty secrets are usually peddling half-truths or seeking attention." The host laughs, a sharp, mocking sound. "Then let's get into specifics if you're so certain. There's a rumor you once screamed at Barron so fiercely that staff heard it 3 floors away. Care to confirm or deny?" A hush falls. It's the type of insinuation that paints a picture of a tyrant father. Donald's mouth sets in a firm line. "Parenting is challenging. Have I ever raised my voice? Yes. Have I verbally abused my son? Absolutely not. This rumor is ridiculous, but I'm sure it scores you drama points." Barron touches his mother's hand, then addresses the host directly. "If my dad has an issue with me, we settle it. We argue sometimes, sure, but I'd say that's pretty normal for a family. People want to imagine some monstrous scenario to fit their narrative. A wave of applause spreads through the crowd. The host, clearly searching for a more damning angle, flips to another card. How about Barron's rumored private Instagram account where he allegedly shares anti-liberal memes? The host sneers. Any truth to that? Or is that just another piece of so-called fake news? Barron's eyebrows shoot up. I don't have a secret Instagram. I do have a normal one like most people my age, but it's set to private because I prefer a shred of privacy. Is that so scandalous? A subdued laugh ripples through the audience. Privacy, the host exclaims, feigning astonishment. Living in the White House or in Trump Tower? Do you even know what that word means? Barron's calm cracks for a moment, just enough for a wry smile. I know it's something I'll never fully have, thanks to shows like yours. The host tries to maintain the upper hand, but the audience catches the edge in Barron's voice, and some are clearly siding with him. Pivoting, the host shifts to Donald again. People want to know if your political ambitions have overshadowed your role as a father. Is Barron just another piece on your chessboard? Donald runs a hand over his tie, considering his response. Barron is my son. He's a person with his own thoughts, ambitions, and he's nobody's pawn. My kids have stood by me because they chose to, not because I demanded it. The host's expression flickers with frustration. Interesting you say that, because some ex-staffers claim you insist on loyalty above all else, even from your children. You've effectively turned them into yes men. Are you grooming Barron to be just another yes man? Donald's voice sharpens. Expecting loyalty from people you trust, especially your own family, isn't the same as turning them into puppets. Do you ever expect loyalty from your producers and sponsors? An uneasy laughter emerges from scattered pockets of the audience. It's evident the host's aggression is beginning to feel overplayed. Even those who came to support him start to look a bit uncomfortable with the barrage. Sensing he may be losing the crowd's sympathy, the host decides to go further, venturing into personal territory. Let's talk about skeletons in the closet, Donald. Women have come forward in the past claiming affairs, hush money, intimidation tactics. How can Barron grow up respecting a man embroiled in such controversies? The question hangs in the air, loaded with moral judgments. Barron's posture stiffens, but Donald answers. My personal life has been under the microscope for decades. I'm not running from any allegations, but I also won't let them define who I am as a father. People make mistakes. They learn, they move on. I'm teaching my kids to own their actions, but also to fight back against false narratives. False narratives, the host scoffs. That's your favorite phrase. Let's flip the script. Barron, do you ever question whether your dad's version of events might not be entirely accurate? The teenager meets the host's gaze. Of course I question things. My parents encourage me to think critically, but I also know how easily stories get distorted. Nothing is black and white. A hint of respect flashes in the host's eyes, but it vanishes quickly. He can't afford to appear impressed. Let's shift to Melania. You've tried to keep Barron's life private, yet here he is under the spotlight. Some would argue you're complicit in exploiting him by bringing him on this show. Melania's eyes narrow slightly, but she keeps her voice calm. We accepted your invitation because we have nothing to hide. Exploitation would be using my son's presence purely for attention or political gain. We're here to clear the air. The host fires back. And profit off the publicity, perhaps? The insinuation is thick. Melania responds, publicity does not always equal profit. Sometimes it's simply about having a voice, especially when rumors run wild. The host flips through his cards again, searching for something that might spark a meltdown. He stumbles on a question about Barron's rumored rebellious streak. Word is, he begins, Barron's been caught sneaking out late, attending parties unfit for someone his age, even defying Secret Service protocols. Care to confirm or deny these scandalous tidbits? The audience murmurs, intrigued by the notion of a rebellious teenage escapade. Barron snorts softly. I've been to exactly one high school party where I got bored and left early. The idea of me sneaking out under Secret Service watch is almost comedic. Talk about conspiracies. The host tries to spin it. So you're saying you're the perfect kid, never once challenging parental authority? Barron shrugs. I challenge them on ideas, not on petty things like sneaking out at night. If that's what you're banking on for a big reveal, you're out of luck. His directness garners laughter from some audience members, who are starting to enjoy his unflappable demeanor. Donald jumps in, casting a glance at Barron that's half amusement, half fatherly pride. My children aren't perfect. Neither am I. But for better or worse, we don't hide from who we are. If Barron wants to take me on about a political stance, we do it over dinner, not in some back alley. The host's frustration grows palpable. He's hurling everything he can, but the Trumps aren't crumbling in the way he hoped. The camera zooms in for a dramatic close-up on the host's face, capturing every flicker of annoyance. "All right, let's get really real," he announces, voice dropping for effect. "President Trump, some people say you've taught your son all the wrong lessons: vanity, arrogance, ruthlessness, that you've shown him that winning at all costs is more important than empathy or honesty. Barron, do you believe that?" Barron's gaze locks onto the host, a quiet intensity in his eyes. "I believe my father's taught me resilience, that if you have convictions, you stand up for them, no matter how loud the opposition. He's also taught me to donate to causes, support friends in need, and stick up for people who can't defend themselves. But those things don't make headlines, do they?" The host opens his mouth, then closes it, momentarily at a loss. "And what about empathy, Miss Trump?" he tries, swinging back to Melania. "Does your husband show empathy? Because from the outside, it sure doesn't look that way." Melania lifts her chin. "You see his public persona. I see the man who comforts me when I'm upset, who calls his children just to check on them, who quietly funds charitable initiatives without seeking applause. Empathy doesn't always live in sound bites." At that, the audience applauds. It's not a thunderous standing ovation, but it's enough to signify that the host's relentless assault might be wearing thin. Nevertheless, he continues, "Some critics say your family thrives on controversy, that you incite fights and provoke drama to remain in the spotlight. Is that accurate? Or is it just a happy coincidence that all this chaos keeps the Trump brand afloat?" Donald laughs, not entirely humorlessly. "We don't need manufactured chaos. We simply speak our minds, and if that sparks controversy, so be it. The brand, if you will, is built on hard work, success, and a willingness to fight for what we believe in. If that's controversial, I guess I'll take it." The host's frustration seems to reach a boiling point. He scans his cue cards, then sets them aside. "All right, I'll drop the gloves here," he declares, leaning forward. "Everyone in this room knows that you, Mr. Trump, have been accused of ethical lapses, blatant lies, and more. Your wife is rumored to be miserable and locked in a golden cage, and your son is rumored to be caught between loyalties. Why on earth should anyone respect your family, let alone believe what you say tonight?" Silence falls. The tension is almost tangible. Melania and Donald exchange glances. Barron looks at the host, jaw set, eyes unwavering. Then he speaks. "Respect is earned, and people are free to make their own judgments. But you don't earn respect by throwing accusations in a theatrical show. You earn it by how you live your life outside these cameras. If people want to see who we really are, they can look beyond the headlines and come talk to us themselves. If they still choose to hate us, at least it'll be informed hate." The host appears momentarily taken aback by Barron's composure. The audience, uncertain how to respond, offers mild applause. It's not a thunderous endorsement, but it's enough to undermine the host's attempt at a mic drop moment. He tries one last angle, addressing Barron again. "A lot of kids your age are just hanging out with friends, playing video games, going to proms, not dealing with primetime takedowns. Do you ever wish you could just be normal?" Barron exhales, glancing at the stage lights, the cameras, the audience. "Sometimes," he admits, voice quieter than before. "But this is my family, and I stand with them. Normal is relative. No matter what you say about us, I know there's more to our story than what ends up on screen. People can judge, but they don't see the moments that matter." A hush settles in the studio. The host, running out of provocative questions, attempts a final summary. "Well, we've certainly heard a lot tonight. Some deflections, some justifications, maybe even a few hints of truth. Any last words you'd like to share with our viewers?" Donald adjusts his tie and stares directly into the camera. "Believe what you want, but we're not here to pander. Love us or hate us, we are who we are, and we'll keep moving forward." Melania nods in agreement, adding softly, "We came because we don't fear questions. We just hoped they'd be fair ones." Then with a small wry grin, she turns to the host. "Though we expected more from your famous wit, it's a subtle jab, one that draws surprised laughter." The host musters a tight smile, sensing that the power dynamics have shifted in the room. Barron stands up, folding his hands in front of him as the cameras zoom in. "Thank you for having us," he says politely to the host. "I hope next time you'll ask about something that actually matters to people, like how we can help kids facing cyberbullying or families struggling to make ends meet." Then he shrugs. "But I guess that might not be as sensational." There it is, a final line delivered by the youngest Trump in the room, a quiet rebuke that lands with surprising weight. The host fumbles for a sign-off. The cameras pan to the audience, revealing a mix of expressions, some disapproving, some visibly impressed by Barron's demeanor, others merely wanting more drama. As the house lights rise, producers scuttle forward to guide the Trumps off set. The audience disperses, still buzzing with the tension of the evening. The host remains in his chair, a slightly stunned expression on his face, as though he's not entirely sure what happened. The gotcha questions he'd prepared didn't detonate as expected. Backstage, Barron releases a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Melania gives him a gentle pat on the back, and Donald offers an approving nod. They exchange no triumphant remarks, just a collective relief that they've faced the firing squad together. However the public reacts tomorrow, they'll handle it as they always do, rightly or wrongly, but on their own terms. In the corridor leading away from the stage, a junior producer quickly intercepts them, extending a hand. "I just want to say," she mumbles nervously, "that was really something. He was aiming to humiliate you all, but—" She trails off, uncertain how to phrase it diplomatically. Donald merely thanks her with a courteous nod. Barron flashes a small smile, feeling that, for once, he stepped out of the shadow without losing himself in the process.